while we wait for everybody to come on, give us some good stuff to talk about. What did you get up to on your weekend?
What did you do in quarantine day one? How did you guys go with the snap? Oh bugger, we've got to lock up and get everyone out.
We cried a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
4 p.m. on Saturday is
not
greatest time to be closed, especially when we were at
Pinewood's show as well.
Yeah, we had a stall there as well. So, we basically Dave ran around and gave out all our vouchers that were supposed to take 3 days to give out. He gave them out in like
a couple of hours. Gosh.
So, yeah, there's probably like Laser Zone vouchers sprayed all over Pine River's showgrounds, guys, if you want some discounts.
All right.
Alrighty, we got 21 people in.
Okay, I think that's enough. I've given everyone enough notice, and I am recording, and we should be able to flick this up on YouTube anyway. So that'll be we'll probably throw that up on the Laser Zone the Laser Zone YouTube channel or something anyway. So welcome everybody. Welcome to the results. Sorry we couldn't do this in person. But this is obviously going to be the next best thing. So we're just going to run through all the different results of the 2020-2021 Squelter season, including all the obviously most improved, best new player, MVPs. We've got to have the results for the solo competition and obviously the results for the finals. And we will have a Q&A session at the end for these two lovely gentlemen above me. So if you do have any questions, guys, I'll ask for them in the chat later on. So just hold on to those for now so they don't get lost. And then that way I can help these guys moderate that and get some Q&A going. So, yes, Queenie, you have seen right through me, by the way. Yes, it is a PowerPoint. Unfortunately, I didn't get a lot of notice. So this was the quick and dirty solution that I came up with. So hopefully it'll be a lot cleaner and a lot sharper in the future. All right. Do you guys want to
how she's figured that out straight away?
Look, it's
just straight on.
Pretty obvious that it's a PowerPoint presentation.
I love the use of logos too, Cougs. You've got them all in there.
I had to. I was just like, I've got to grab a couple of logos. I had to dig for that Squelter logo. I tell you what. It's actually not an easy.
Of getting it out everywhere.
It is not an easy logo to find. It's just putting put that out there. So, all right, guys. So we'll announce the results of most improved, and then we'll have a bit of a chat about it. And if you've got any comments in the chat to pass along to Bootza and Taipan as we go along, let me know. All right, guys. So here we go. Here is your most improved for 2020-2021. Technical difficulty straight away. There we go. So GOAT is the most statistically most improved player with 174% above the previous year. Just to let you guys know, I've actually cut this off at everyone who got a positive. And I believe everyone else below this list was actually in a slight decline. So GOAT leading the pack there, 174 over the previous year's GRC, followed by Zeropa. Rod, great to see him up there as well. It's always good to see fresh blood up there. Bootza Dodge showing his worth and outperforming his old man again. Then we have Raven, obviously no surprises that she's up there as well. Always an extremely solid player. Stalker, Husky, Potato, and Wham. Rounding out our, I believe that's what, top 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's our top 10 of most improved. Obviously, the full list we'll be probably posting on the Facebook group, I dare say, Taipan, after this stream.
Yeah, we'll get it all in the Google Drive and we'll send it out to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So keep an eye on the Squelter Facebook page and we'll send you guys the full list. So what do you guys make of this list?
Congrats, GOAT. Woo! Yeah!
Carrying the Eclipse banner. Thank you very much.
all the training's paying off for GOAT.
You know, there's something that I actually found really interesting in this is the fact that there is 3 nationals champions from the last 5 years, in there as most improved. 4, including Katie. Yeah, it's pretty nuts that like the best are just getting better. Like, it's a very,
the other
very
alternative is that we had terrible years last year.
Well, I mean, you look at Stalker, like, I get it. Like, that guy's cracked anyway. Like, you look at Husky, he's cracked as well. Like, they're both probably the 2 best players in Australasia at the minute.
Yeah.
And, like, Stalker's is 2.01 from last year to a 2.36.
Yeah.
Like, that's a silly GRC considering that there is Nats teams playing in our, like, state competition.
And it's not like there's 1 or 2 comps in there. There's like the entire season's worth of comps, including side events, included in those stats. So it's not like a small sample size. Like those 2 players have legitimately, believe it or not, gotten better than what they already were. And like playing against them in training and stuff, like absolutely you can see that.
It's just scary to think, Bootza, how long we've known Stalker for. And we've seen him come up through Sunshine Coast League and kind of leave laser tag and then come back, and how much he has developed, over the last couple of years in particular. So, which is a full credit to the Sunshine Coast scene as well. I think the way that how dedicated they have been with their training has really started to pay dividends. But that's also a big testament to Stalker as well, because like he is so naturally gifted. Like I cannot sing his praises enough. So, but honestly, congratulations to Goat as well, because this just shows that he is, well, statistically he's almost double better than what he was last year. And he can only get better from here as well. So.
And you look at what we got, Zeropa and Rod there as well. Now, am I accurate in saying they're both playing for Spartans?
Yes.
Yep. So, I mean, things are looking pretty good for Spartans and Wolfpack right now. They've got, the Spartans, Zeropa's been on that team for a while, but I really rate Rod, especially after what I saw at the Rumble. And, the results are speaking for themselves in terms of his development. So they're only going to go in one direction, and, Stalker jumping onto the Wolfpack and how well he's playing and how well Husky's playing, as well as the rest of the team. Wham's in that list as well. And then you've got Dodge being added to that as well. He's going through that big jump that players go through when they go through from being like a good player to like a really good player. I can really sense that when playing against Dodge now. So, yeah, things are looking in good shape for the 2 marquee teams in Queensland right now.
Yeah. And it's scary to think that, I'm not picking on him, but you have a look at Wham, and he hasn't necessarily had a big statistical improvement year on year, but he's still top 10. That just shows how well our scene has actually come along over the last few years as well. That someone who's so good and so solid as Wham doesn't necessarily have a massive jump in improvement, but it can still be top 10, like on a list like this as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I mean, he is one of the undercut players on the Wolfpack, and he is so integral to that team. I honestly reckon he would be in the top 5 in terms of like timing in this country.
Please don't put me on his door. Please. I
don't worry, you're going on his door. Like, you are going straight onto his door every time. I'll much.
You really want me to retire, don't you? That's
oh,
your
mate,
goal.
I'll much rather go against Stalker. I hate to say it. I'll take my chances against one of the best in the world rather than trying to outtime Wham. Thank you, please.
All right, should we get to the next one?
We'll move along. So our next one is...
My filter's gone funny there.
Yeah, your camera is weird, man.
Yeah, look. Orcrai sold me this computer. Thanks, Orcrai.
Vintage, man.
Dodgy.
Like Back to the Future 3, mate. That, like, 1800s Cowboys and Indian kind of look.
So this is...
Mate, I'll take it.
So we're going to have a look at our top new players. So do you guys want to let us know how this is calculated out?
Yeah, so this is anybody that's playing for the first time this season or has played 3 events or less in the previous season. So if they joined at the end of last season, then they still are in contention, essentially. So that's all those players, and we look at their GRC from across the events.
Alrighty, so let's have a look at your list of new players. And congratulations to Shock, taking out this list as well, with an average GRC of 0.83. We got Little Bo, Cap Cam, Mum, Pop Tart, Hazmat, Chicken, and Ben Babotson, rounding out your top list.
I didn't realise how well Shock was going until I saw this. I was like, I knew he's going well, but that's really good. A 0.83 GRC average across all the events is incredible. Like, he's almost at the midway point of the spectrum in his first season, essentially. So massive hats off to him for all the work. And from what I understand, he trains pretty hard up at Sunny Coast as well, and he's really consistent with his appearances at training and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
that's excellent.
Every North vs South that I went to at the beginning of this year and the end of last year, just like every time I come across him, he was just getting better and better and better, and it's great. You know, it's always really good to see these new players take these big strides, and they are really starting to take these strides in the right direction. And it's good to see that we've got such a good cultivation of new players as well. So.
Oh, look, I think it is amazing. I like the amount of new players that we've come through. Like, we saw Mum definitely through the last MVS season. It wasn't for much. Obviously, it was less than 3 events. But, like, you look at the players that have come through in the last little bit, and it's crucial to this scene. Like, the new players coming through are crucial. And the way that they're performing at the minute, like, Shock is amazing and going really, really well. Like, Little Bo is going fantastically as well. Capcan, Mum, like, they're all playing really, really good laser tag. And, like, we love to see it in Queensland because it just makes us stronger. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we're only as good as a state and as a community, really, as our weaker players, you know, because, you know, it's these players we've got to start bringing up into our level so that we've got a next goal to aim for again, you know.
Let's take them under our wing, everybody.
Absolutely. So well done to these guys. It's great to see these stats, and it's hopefully in the next season we'll start seeing you guys on the top player lists, the most improved lists. So well done again to our new players. So moving along, we've got, apparently I put in the solo competition in this here. Okay, sure. I thought this was a bit later, so we'll jump into the solo comp. So this was held up at Sunny Coast just before the North vs South finals last weekend, and I believe it was 5 games with Drop Your Worst.
4 games, drop your worst.
4 games, drop your worst. So What I've actually done here as well, guys, is when I bring up the table, I've actually included your best game and your worst game from your included 3 games as well. And then obviously your average score, which is going to be a bit interesting because there's some really, really interesting, obviously, middle games that affected the end results. So your solo champion for the 2020-2021 season is The Leg. The Leg! Just pipping out Mackans by 70 points by the end there. But you have a look at that, and this is what I meant before. Cairns had a higher top game and a higher lower game. So it was all the middle games that actually made the difference to bring out that 70-point cap. But well done to The Leg. Mopar right up there as well with just under $5,000. Grub, I think, had the highest game of the competition with that 63,060 score, and then one of the lowest point games with the 2,240 as well. Orkerai just behind Grub as well, with Husky, Bootza, Jipley up there in our top 10. Wham and Volley rounding out the top 10.
2 out of states.
Yeah, old man Mopar. What an effort.
He's still going. He's still going.
Mate. Jeez. Good pickup for a team, I reckon.
Good pickup. I think it was a great pickup. Who suggested that?
So
simultaneous, I think it was.
Yeah. I think it was Little Bo, actually. I think it was Diego. Diego must have mentioned it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
awesome effort by Jips as well, up there in the top 10.
No, definitely. No, it was really a really good effort all around. Because there's not real when you have a look at the average scores in groups, the top two, there's nothing between them. Third and fourth, nothing between it. Fifth and sixth, nothing between them. And then we start branching out a little bit after that. But that top six is so close. Little thing here, a little thing there really would have made all the difference either way. So. So, anything else that you guys want to say about the solo results?
Maybe just some comments in the chat about how people enjoyed playing it. I thought it was quite fun. I think I like Sunny Coast as a solos arena, even though I'm terrible in it. It was
it's that middle platform, fun. Mate. It's that middle platform.
Oh, it's different now, compared to Nats with that platform.
Oh, it is different again? Okay. I have to look at some photos.
Yeah.
Good.
Look, I'm just not going to comment on solos. Every time I play solos, I get injured, so I'm just going to avoid all comments.
All right. Okay, so we'll move along now to the MVP, which is the slide I thought we were about to move on to. So this is obviously our top players from all of the comps. So you'll see your points accumulation in these tables for all your North versus South comps combined into one. Then the finals will be combined into a column, and then all the individual side events, solos, doubles, and worlds will be in a separate column for you. So the MVP for this season... Oh, sorry. No, I went from the bottom up. Grub, Leg, and Zeropa. I believe this is top 13 I ended up putting in. So Zeropa, 55 comp points. The Leg, 60. Grub, 61. Orcry. Now, have a look at this grouping. Less than a point between all three. So your top player is Husky. Probably to no one's surprise, and by a clear margin. But Taipan hit it on the head a bit earlier, saying that Husky and Stalker are the best two players, and the stats show it. 113 points to Husky. Stalker, 96 points, despite missing 2 events, still managed to come second in the overall calendar. So well done to Stalker. Maghands nipping on his heels at 94 points. Wax at 74. Once again, big ups to Wax there, managing to pull out that result despite missing 3 events. And Bootza on 73, right behind him as well.
Yeah, look, I think these results don't really shock anyone. When you look at Stalker and Husky, Husky's missed an event and still been 20 points above Cairns, who is a multi-time national champion, one of the best players that I've ever played against. So to be doing that against someone like Cairns, and Stalker missing 2 events and still finishing in second, it kind of shows they just are who they are, and they're wonderful to play with and they're wonderful to play against. And I think when we actually look at it, I think Katie missed 2 events as well. I missed 2 events. So it was all very, very tight. And there was a number of events missed by a number of different players. I think Grub missed events as well. So it was very, very tight for having everyone missed events. And look, you can just see the class kind of prevail. The cream comes to the top in that. Husky and Stalker. Wow. Just wow.
And it is. Husky is just daylight behind one of the best players we have in Australia, or 2 of the best players we have in Australia, and then there's daylight again to the next batch of players. So you are right, these results probably shouldn't come as too much of a surprise to anybody, but on the same token, hopefully this really starts to drive people to want to go, push that little bit harder, push that little bit further. You have a look at, just the North versus South finals results. Husky got 16.5 points just from North versus South. Top scored out in doubles, didn't top score in the solo comp and got the most points in the North versus South comp overall. So, well done to Husky. He's the efforts, that he puts in just shows exactly what he can do.
Just for people who are wondering how these get calculated, essentially we get the GRC from the events and we multiply it by 6 for the team events and by 3 for the side events. So what's interesting to me is that every year, I look at it and I go, okay, who do I just by playing against them and seeing them play and how they go within their team, who do I think is playing at the top of their game and who's the top players right now? And these stats always seem to reflect to me a pretty accurate picture. So I really rate these numbers in terms of what they tell us essentially. And looking at Husky, Stalker, Mad Cans, who's going to argue with those 3 being our top 3 players in the region essentially? It's pretty accurate picture of how it's gone. But yeah, there is some element of you have to rock up to get the points, but pretty much all the players in that top group missed an event between 1 and 3 events, so that's been pretty equalised essentially.
Can I just point something out quickly? Katie finishing 7th, she got 28.58 for finals.
Yeah.
Like, to put that into comparison, like you look at Husky, 16.57. She finished 12 points above Husky. Just for that. Like, that is unreal.
The pressure of a finals event, obviously, really drives you to kick that extra gear in and, go to the next step. So
just unreal. Like, congrats to Katie. Like, that is unreal to play that.
That's a GRC of like 4.5 or something like that. So she played 2 games, and I remember one of those games was like neck level, like out of control. So she must have come out with a very large GRC. Well, in both of them actually, but in one of them was exceptional.
Must have had the Mopar pack, hey Mopar.
Oh dear. All right. Well, congratulations again to our MVPs, and I believe we are now going to move on to our finals games now, which is obviously what everybody has been waiting for. So, who were the teams against? We had Eclipse, we had No Name, and we had
Storm.
That's Storm?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the players on the individual teams were Eclipse had Mopar, Bootza, Little Bow, Orcarai, and Goat.
That was Speed, wasn't it?
What's
just
going
giving
on
away
there?
finals.
Oh, was I? Oh, man.
There you go. There you
That
go,
was-
Holly. You've just
great.
got finals results now.
Look, I was just like, I swear it wasn't Storm. I swear it was someone else. And it was Speed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speed and Storm take on the same name. We were Speed. Yes, Lauren. We know. We're just going to... We're going to call you Speed. Well done, Cougs.
Look, it's happened to bigger companies in a worse...
Okay, so going back onto the team list. So Eclipse was Goat, Bootza, Mopar, Orcarai, and Little Bow. Speed had Cans, Leg, Cyrex, Volley, Kit Kat, Bread. And then No Name was Gypsy, Grub, Dodge, Lamb, and Husky.
Okay. All right. So, in no particular order, Speed finished game 1, 32,225. Eclipse got 34,736. And No Name, big game, 48,508.
That definitely looks like a particular order, Cougar.
No, because I always go red, blue, green in the slides.
Do you?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
All right, so in our second game, No Name 35,016 playing out of red. Speed 42,337. And Eclipse 33,335. So then in the final game, Eclipse got 25,903. No Name 42,168. And Speed 41,656. Very, very close. So your final results, knowing that they were based off of your average score, Eclipse comes third, 31,325. Speed will come second with an average of 38,739. And No Name, 41,897. So your 2020-2021 SEQLTA champions are No Name. So congratulations to those guys.
Yeah, congrats to the guys. The No Name. The name, well, let's be honest, it's Wolfpack.
And
they do have a
Storm,
name,
but
their name is Wolfpack. Yeah, I mean, is there any surprise really? They were the strongest team throughout the year really, and deserved their victory, and they were amazing again. And I just hope that one day I can shoot Husky out of green. That's my life goal from here on in.
Yeah, look, it is a they've definitely set the bar. And the funny thing is that, you know, we had this conversation, what's going to happen to Wolfpack when Lakeo leaves? Well, they're still going to win. Now, what's going to happen to Wolfpack when Payne leaves? Well, they're still winning. You know? So, you know, it's a good group. What they've got going is and how they've been able to integrate newer players onto that team almost seamlessly. Like, it's still something special that those guys have got going, and it just shows that it's not one person that makes a team. It is how the team comes together as well. So
let's not forget as well, they didn't have their full lineup, and yeah, sure, Spartans weren't there as well, and Cairns played for Speed, but still, it was a pretty impressive result given that they didn't have all of their players in. So, and I think Eclipse were happy to be there.
Look, but at the end of the day, it's always great to play in these finals games because, you know, it is experience. That's the thing. You know, you don't know what you need to train for unless you actually have that experience and you know what level you need to step up to next.
Yeah, all the finals games are all great experience, just for dealing with nerves as well, going into those games with a little bit of nerves. And this is why it's hard to replicate really high-level games at nationals, because you can't replicate the same amount of pressure in just training or any other tournament. So every single one of these big tournaments just gives the younger players a little bit more experience in that area.
Yeah.
But we should talk a little bit about the game 3. I reckon Speed's effort to get within a K with 2 bases behind, it really looked like No Name were smashing that game. So yeah, hats off to Speed in that final game from Green to get that close.
And they're 2 bases down as well. So like the amount of pack work that those guys had to put in is phenomenal. Like, it's so good.
But so can I just ask a question? Because obviously I wasn't there at finals. Did you dump in the last game?
I think we ended up having to because we were getting pounded. Yeah, we tried getting bases with 2, then 3, then we couldn't get bases at all. I think we had to dump, and then we finally got some bases, and then the game ended.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Cougar, what's the Taipan rule?
What? Just dump? Panic dump? All the time?
Yeah, that's what the Renegades golden rule was.
Mate, it's actually because... Sorry, we're going a little bit off topic, but we... because they've been slowly uploading games from Darwin to the Zeltac YouTube channel, and they put the game up where we were playing against Behemoth. And I've forgotten who the third team was, but we were always behind. And I remember that game because I was having the worst game. I just couldn't do anything right. We were dropping bases, everything. And then in the last minute, I go, I haven't got any bases yet. And I went and got both bases and walked out, and we won by a K. And I just was, oh, sorry, Ellie. Stole that. But
and
yeah.
just for everybody out there as well, don't go anywhere, because we've actually got some more things to talk about, including the calendar.
Yes.
So you must have ignored the run sheet, Cougar.
Well, look, apparently if I alt-tab to something else, I just break everything. So I need a third monitor, apparently.
So the first thing on the run sheet was acknowledgements, which we've missed. So we're going to do that now, I reckon.
Right.
We'll
Off you go.
So that we can slowly transition. Guys, also, I'm just going to throw it out there very quickly. If you do have any questions about North versus South or anything like that, now is probably the time to start typing them in and asking them, so that we can get through the calendar, we can get through the acknowledgements, and then we can move on to that quite seamlessly. So I would like to acknowledge, first and foremost, as the current president of SQLTA, two players in particular that have been so crucial to the last, with one of them the last 6 months, with the other one the last 18 months. And the first one is Kit Kat, who has stepped in as secretary. We are very grateful that Kit Kat has taken up that position, because it is a difficult position to do. And as a committee, we are very grateful that someone has put their hand up to do that. So definitely hats off to Kit Kat. The second one who has been putting in a lot of time and effort for the last 18 months is Mum. Kirsty knows exactly how much she has helped me in the last 18 months personally, in regards to everything laser tag, not just personally, but laser tag. She has put in so much time and effort of her own accord to do so much work in regards to mid-tier comps and the treasury, and that was extremely difficult. I remember me and her swearing at each other, sitting at the dining room table out at Kalanga for about 5 hours trying to get the accounting in check, so that was always fun. But like what she has done for the scene, massively positive. It takes a lot of time and effort to do that, so definitely thank you to Mum. Nextly, I'd like to thank the site operators. Without you guys, it's impossible. So to Ben, Callum, and definitely Katie, we would love to thank you for giving us the time at your sites. We appreciate it unbelievably, and we love playing laser tag, otherwise we wouldn't be here. Thirdly, Stingray, you have done so much in regards to stats and behind the scenes work for us. We're extremely grateful for putting in your time and effort. We know how busy you are, and we are incredibly grateful as to the time and effort you put in. Fourthly, Mopar, the amount of time he puts in for the pack work and the tech work and all that kind of stuff at the sites. The sites wouldn't operate properly without Mopar. Like in terms of competition play, he does so much for us. So very grateful for Mopar. And lastly, I want to thank the players. Without the players, we cannot have our community. And last but not least, I would like to thank everyone for their feedback in regards to North vs South competitions and our surveys and everything like that. It has been an incredibly tricky last 4 months with COVID and everything going on. So we are incredibly grateful for support and what we have done and how we've been able to achieve what we have. The scene is looking incredibly healthy at the minute. With Moreton League, I can speak from experience, very healthy, and I believe Sunshine Coast is extremely healthy as well. So, like, the fact that we are able to do this as a community is massive. So, thank you, everyone. Massive props to Kit Kat, Stingray, Mopar, and especially Mum. Like, huge hats off to you guys.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, this community only runs because we have people that put their discretionary time in, and we thank everybody who's put their time in. And if you feel like wanting to be part of that, please put your hand up and come and see us, because we'd love to be working with any of you guys who want to help out. Cool. Should we put a calendar out there?
I think we should put a calendar out there.
we've got a calendar for you guys. All right, I'm going to post this calendar on the SCQLTA Facebook page at the same time as talking about it. Now, let me pop that
Do
up.
you want me to post it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you post it up and I'll talk about it. Okie dokie.
Good hour to do it.
Let me know when you got it up, mate. All right, so we took
Done.
Done. Awesome. So there you go, guys. You'll be able to see it in there. Thank you so much for your feedback in the survey. We really utilised the information we got from that to craft this calendar. You'll be able to see that it finishes up just before Nationals next year. So we're trying to realign our annual calendar with the year leading. So the finals happen right just before Nationals, and then when we come back from Nationals, we restart a new calendar. So we can have a bit of a break and recharge, and then kick off. So in terms of where we're playing, there was a little bit of mixed feedback around the inclusion of Hendra. So what we decided to do is go with 3 Sunny Coast events, 3 Launching events, and 1 Hendra event, which is kind of like almost like a tiebreaker in terms of it's the one neutral side event. And also, I think it's important to have an event in there where we have to go through the challenge of actually picking up a new arena and having some of our less experienced players go through that experience of not knowing the arena inside out and having to sort of suss it out and strategize on the fly, so to speak. So we've included 1 event for Hendra in November. In terms of side events, we've got doubles at both sites. Team Elim, there was also like enough support there for us to go, yeah, we really want to keep Team Elim in there. 1 event and at the Sunshine Coast felt like the right thing to do because Sunny Coast is really well set up for Team Elim. And then we've got a triples event at Launton. Launton triples works quite well at Launton, so we decided to keep that there. And that rounds off our calendar for the year. And we've got at least 1 event, sometimes 2 events every month, essentially. And I think we break around Christmas for a month. So 12th of December is our triples event, and then 9th of January as our doubles event. So around Christmas we have side events. So if people go away and stuff like that, they won't be missing North versus South. And we tend to have around school holidays, we'll do an event at Launton because Sunny Coast is a bit tricky at school holidays to have events because of the nature of their holiday traffic happens around that time, whereas Launton, it's school holidays is fine to do events. So on a Sunday night, that is. So yeah, there it is. If you've got any feedback for us or any comments or anything, please chuck them in the chat or send us a message. 15th of August, so we're really close to launching the first event. We've got about 2 weeks, so which is one of the reasons we've also wanted to have this Q&A tonight about the NVS restructure. Is there anything you want to add, Taipan, about the calendar?
Not really. I think you've covered pretty much everything. Like, we've obviously listened to the community as much as we possibly could in crafting this calendar, trying to get it as well-rounded as possible and get as many events in because everyone was wanting to get 1 a month. Chicken, we're going to get to that. Basically, I think you've covered everything. We've listened to the community. We've tried to get as minimal side events as possible and more teams events.
Cool. Okay, so there's lots of questions in the chat around
team formation.
Teams. How are teams being formed? Okay, so that's entirely the conversation we're about to have. Should we jump straight into that, do you think, guys?
I think so.
That's obviously the burning question that everyone wants to know. So
yeah, cool. So I'm just going to give a quick frame up of where we're at with it, essentially. So for some of you guys who have maybe not been keeping your eyes on some of the content that's been going out, essentially we put out a proposal recently about an NVS restructure. So it's essentially a new way of forming teams. It's actually an old way of forming teams that we used to do, but we're thinking about going back to that way. And it's quite a significant change, but there's a couple of reasons we're doing it, and I'll just explain those reasons. Essentially, at the moment, teams are self-formed, so people just decide they want to form a team together, and then they put that team in. What we want to move towards is a selection committee structure where each site has a selection committee and they're able to select four teams from their site. Now, the reason for that is that we want to, we think we can do a better job of rearranging the players into a way where the competition is more competitive. So we can have, instead of stacking all the elite players on just one or two teams, we can spread them out in a way that helps them pass the knowledge down to the next generation, and also means that the level of competition across, you know, the 6 to 8 teams that are in it, or 5 to 8 teams, is going to be a lot more even. So any team can win on their day, essentially. So we put that proposal out. We had some feedback on it, and all the questions that came back were really, really legit. Like, they're the questions that need to be asked. Essentially, I would have been asking exactly the same questions if I was sitting across the desk. And some of those questions include, there was a bit of a concern about whether we're prioritising development over a level of competition, and whether sometimes when you try to do too many things at once, you actually achieve nothing, which is a legit question. So we just sort of clarified, we had a follow-up video, and in that video we just clarified that our intent is really to make it more competitive. And what we're talking about is not necessarily changing the level of the players that are in North versus South, but just changing the way we organise those players so that they're not all stacked in 1 or 2 teams, essentially. Another question came up about forcing players to play on teams, whether that's a good idea. So obviously the selection committee process will be a work in progress for a while, and we'll have to get good at it. But the intent is not to do it in a vacuum. So the selection committees will be working with their, the leaders at their site to craft teams that they know are going to work. We can group players. So instead of, say, Wolfpack being a team at NVS, they might split in half. So half of them are on one team and half from another team. So it doesn't mean that, players that are playing on a Nats team together can't play together. It just means that they're not all going to play all together on the same team, potentially. We spread them out a little bit. And this gives some of the mid-tier players and newer players the opportunity to learn from the best, because part of, being a steward in this community and making sure that we have sustained success over a long period of time is we have a kind of a responsibility to pass the knowledge down and to teach the players that are coming through, because we had players teach us when we were coming through the ranks. It's kind of a part of our responsibility, and that's what our job as an SQLTA committee is to try and look out for those things and structure things in a way where we can look after these long-term goals that we have as a community. So yeah, in terms of forcing players to play with certain players, that's not our goal at all. It would be to do the opposite, actually, is to try and find ways of crafting teams where we know there's going to be synergy, that players kind of, when the teams get announced, they're probably already going to know who is on that team, essentially, because there's been that much dialogue between the players at the site before the teams get officially announced. In terms of the site-based team thing, yep, there will still be mixed teams. The only reason we go with a site-based approach is because the selection panel for Sunshine Coast are going to be players that play there all the time. And there's not any players really that play at both sites all the time, and it just makes sense that the players that are predominantly Sunny Coast players, the leaders at Sunny Coast, are the ones who are choosing the Sunny Coast teams, because they're the ones that are seeing who are the new players coming through, are having those conversations all the time about who might be a good match in terms of NVS teams. So that's the intent of doing it that way. If Sunny Coast, for example, has 2.5 teams and Brizzy have 2.5 teams, we come together and we form a mixed team based upon the extra players that we've got. And the idea would be to try and form teams that are as balanced as possible, so that we have players that have an opportunity to GC, players that have an opportunity to do defending roles, lead attack roles, float roles, and we don't have teams too stacked with any one kind of player. We give players an opportunity to learn a craft that they want to learn. And then, of course, a question came up about the mid-tier comps, and yes, we definitely still want to do mid-tier comps. They're probably going to be aimed at the next level below NVS. So the players that have been in the league system for a little bit and are ready to maybe take a little bit of a step up but aren't really ready for NVS yet, they're really where we're aiming these mid-tier comps from. So the idea is not to bring in that level of player into NVS at all. It's to essentially reorganise the players that are already in in the NBS structure, and to be able to find a way to bring new players in that are ready for NVS level in a good way, in a way where they're going to get nurtured and looked after by high-level players or experienced players. So that's kind of where we're at with it. Now we're in a position where we need to make a decision in the next 24 to 48 hours, so everybody can start to plan for this. Before we do that, we wanted to have this discussion, essentially. So that's essentially where we're at. We're really looking forward to your questions so that we can address them. So whilst I've been chatting, has there been any... Oh, is there anything you want to add to that, Types, before we go ahead?
Honestly, not really. I think you've covered the basis really, really well. I think you've... We've worked really hard on this proposal, and all it is it's kind of how North vs South was structured when I first started in 2017, where the teams weren't all nationals teams. It is good for nationals teams to get to train. There will be plenty of training throughout the year, but North vs South is really our state-based competition, and it is about passing down the knowledge that we have learned. I can speak from experience in the last 4 years. To get to the position I'm in, I would not have been able to do it without Jesse and Beefy, and they were not on my team. I played North vs South with Jesse. I was very, very lucky to play North vs South with Jesse. But it really was, when I was a new player coming across from Laser Force, all about gaining that experience and that knowledge, and now being able to pass it on to players like... I'm very grateful to be able to pass it on to players like Goat and Littlebow, and a couple of the more mid-tier players at Launton, to try and get them in the position where in the next 4 or 5 years they will be doing exactly the same thing that I'm doing at the minute. Now, yeah, I think that's basically where I stand on it. I think it's probably time to go to Cougar. I know there's a couple of questions there from Lauren. Specifically, there's one from Volley and there's one from Chicken and Goat. So I think we move on to them.
Yes, no, definitely. Sorry, babe.
So there was a question that I saw in there just as you were chatting, Taipan, that I wouldn't mind to address straight up, because it's probably like a burning question for a few people. About the rules around the selection committee. What rules will they be given?
Yep.
So this is something that we still have to discuss, and anything we discuss right now is not in stone. This is really an open conversation. This is the conversation we were going to have after finals. But my thinking around this is that I don't think you put any rules in there, because I think there's actually a natural disincentive to actually stack all your players into one team from a long-term perspective. Like, you can do it and you'll get short-term results doing that. You might win an NVS doing that. But I think you win the battle and lose the war, because the site that's going to do better at nationals is over a longer period of time is the one that's actually going to invest in spreading their elite players up and putting the time into getting the mid-tier to the level where they can compete with the elite players. So I feel like if we create stringent rules about who can and can't be on a team, it creates all this greyness. Because if you say, you can't have a full Nats team in there, then, who's on a Nats team? Like, that changes all the time. Is it last year's Nats team, this year's Nats team? It gets very grey.
It's never locked in. Never is.
Yeah.
Never.
So I think if we set an intent and we all understand what that intent is, and we craft teams from that perspective, then it's up to the selection committee to do what they want. And I'm hoping there's a natural disincentive to stacking the teams in a major way.
No, definitely.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Ben, and I think it's one of those things that I think setting the boundaries in a situation like this is unnecessary. I think we all know where we want to go and what we want to achieve and who's kind of ready and who's kind of not. And the players that are going to be put on that selection panel are players that are trusted, and they're senior players in this scene, and they're players that are well respected and well sought after and have played at the top level, and probably captains of the teams as well. Like, it's so important that the right people get put on that. And I think with Ben and myself, we want what's best for Queensland. We're not looking after our own best interest. It's got nothing to do with our own best interest. It's got to do where this scene goes for the next 5-10 years, and it's such an important building block at this point that I think we're at that top. We've hit this top peak, and if we start to slip, we can go the same way that WA did in the late 2000s, or we can hit this peak and grow, and just continue to grow and learn and prosper as a state and a scene.
Yeah, and just to add to that as well, Taipan, something that I mentioned in the video that I didn't mention previously was we're moving towards this selection committee for nationals kind of approach, where a selection panel will kind of tick off on the teams for Nats now that we have limited registration. The intent being, of course, not to interrupt the elite teams, the Spartans and the Wolfpacks, but to really help the mid and newer teams form, to make sure that we're getting all the players that deserve to be there on the teams. Now, if we're moving towards a Nats selection panel, we kind of need a training ground for players to be on a selection panel, to understand how it works and what we're looking for and the kinds of conversations that need to be had in the background. And I feel like this is like the perfect training ground. We can allow sort of the newer administrators coming through the ranks to kind of step into the selection panel for the local site and work alongside a more experienced player for a little bit, because one day we're going to need new experienced players to step onto that national selection panel, and that's a huge responsibility. Like, we're deciding who gets to go to Nats and who doesn't get to go to Nats, essentially. So we really need people who are have had an opportunity to prove their integrity, prove their work ethic, and that they understand what's needed to structure together successful teams, and a level of experience at doing that, so that we can choose the national selection panel with some actual information behind us.
Yeah.
So Volley's question was, how are the team formations working? Are we basically going to be self-forming, or will the selection panels select the teams? I'm going to assume that's more related to the North versus South.
I think that question came up before we explained everything.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that he might have the answers to that now. Volley, if you didn't get the answer you're looking for, please pop in the chat, because I think that was an early question, and I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, it's time to.
Yep. No, he's got it, and he's all good apparently. So.
Yep.
So Cyrex is asking as well, will the committee be arranging events for nationals teams to play team games that are not currently on the calendar? So I'm going to assume that's maybe related to training sessions.
I think what is going to be best to do there is to let the nationals teams utilise the time in between North versus South sessions and whatnot to organise trainings at sites. I think it's one of those things that we've always kind of done, where there's a date at Launton where we're free, or a date at Sunshine Coast where people are free and their site is available, that we try and organise it. With the ones that have been selected in the calendar, they've been selected because they are the most obvious dates to use, but there is weeks in between there that will also be available for nationals teams training. And I know, as a captain of one of those teams currently, like I want to spend as much time with my team as possible, and we will definitely be looking between us and the site operators to try and organise that rather than a committee organised event. We do have two there, but I think it will be more down to the captains and the site operators to try and find the best weeks.
Yeah, and as a side op, just to add to that, Types, as a side op, like, I'm totally open to having extra trainings in between events. We're at the level now where, like, I've got to put the business hat on at this point. Like, we're at a level now we've got enough teams there to make it worthwhile for us to put staff on a Sunday night. So if we've got 5 teams going to Nats and they're all rocking up to training for 3 hours, then that's worthwhile for me. So totally. If the captains come to us and said, "Oh, can we have a training session on this night, on a Sunday night," which is usually like the closed, then I'd definitely be open to exploring it. So
can I stress one more thing as well? Just because you are not on a current Queensland national side does not mean you cannot go to nationals, or you cannot try and register a team with the nationals committee. There is so many different ways in which you can play nationals. You can go as a solo player. We've had players go like that in the past. I know Queenie, who is in the chat at the moment, has gone to nationals and played on different state side. We can also nominate, like Hendra did. We can nominate for a different team. The committee can't do that. The team itself actually has to do that. So there is so many different ways in which you can go to nationals. So I don't want players in Queensland thinking, "Oh, if I don't make a Queensland team, I can't go." You absolutely can. There are so many different outlets. And Ben, myself, Cougs, Katie, Lauren, Cans, we can all help you. It's an open door. It's just about having a chat and making sure that we know what we're talking about first and foremost, and that we're trying to help you guys as much as possible. So for the mid-tier players who are kind of on that edge of making nationals, there is more than one way to go.
Yeah, I just also want to point out there as well that historically we've never had someone apply to go to nationals and get knocked back. If you have wanted to go to nationals, there has always been a way for you to get to nationals. So as Taipan said, just because you might not make a Queensland team doesn't mean you can't go to Nats. There are definitely other ways that we can help you guys get to Nats.
Gypsy, in regards to that most recent question of yours, it goes kind of wherever you choose it to go. If you are playing for Hobart and you win a double shield with Hobart player, then if you want to send it to Hobart, you send it to Hobart. It's like my Law Shield, Gyps. My Law Shield's sitting nice and tightly up in the Laser Force Brisbane site.
Is it really?
Completely joking. I'm joking. It's up.
I was about to say, I'm like, hang on.
No, it goes wherever you want it to go. So it's entirely up to you, Gyps. You're still a Queensland player in our eyes. Yes, you're going to be playing for another team and another state, but that's only because we are restricted with what we can do. We've been used to players getting 6 teams going to nationals, and unfortunately nationals has kept growing and growing to the point where now we are unfortunately unable to do so.
Okay, if there guys got any more questions in the chat, time to type them in now. Otherwise, we're just shy of the 1 hour mark, and we might look at wrapping up soon.
Just while more questions come in, should we just quickly mention a few things that are coming up on the SCQLTA types?
I think that is a very good idea.
Yay.
You like to start?
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about website. So we have secqlta.com.au, and somebody in our community has offered to build us a website. So that will be getting started hopefully soon, which means that we'll have results, all our policies, and all the information that people need to know regarding SCQLTA and the calendar and all that kind of stuff will be up on a website, which will be very exciting for us. Do you want to go next, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. So something that we've been working towards for probably the last, I'm going to say 9 to 12 months now, is actually looking to formally associate. So we will become a registered association with the Australian federal government. Super important to our future and to the continuation of SCQLTA and the good work that they have, that players in the past and present are putting in. So we are very, very excited to that. It'll all be formalized. we are very, very excited to get that work finished and processed, and finally get to the point where we are a formalized association, and our players are members, and moving forward to being registered.
Yeah. We've been working heavily on our code of conduct formalisation and process for dealing with code of conduct matters, so that'll be out in the coming week. It will be a nice thing to have done. With Nat selections, we've currently got proposal with Zeltac, Taipan.
Yep.
We've got a proposal with Zeltac. They've come back with a few questions, and we just need to address those questions and then get them back the response, and then we'll have Nat selections starting to, more things happening about that soon. So, and in that proposal was essentially a selection committee that utilises a whole bunch of parameters to make decisions, including how they're going at the local tournaments, how much they're contributing to their local scene, their appearances at training, their general attitude and approach. Is there any other factors that come into play, Taipan, that you can think off the top of your head?
Not really. Like, I think with the national selections, I think we've all looked at it and analysed it. We're obviously just in the process of getting it through Zultak and then moving forward with it.
Yeah.
And then lastly, obviously trying to move to maybe more streams and getting games up and running with Northwest, South, and all that kind of stuff. This is hopefully the beginning of something very, very good for Queensland, which we are hoping is going to be a continual thing. If you do have any ideas or you want to be a part of it, obviously send us a message. I think, like, we have the commentary god in our state. He is the king of zone commentary. There is no one else who has a voice like him.
Thanks, I think.
Even though I've missed comments a number of times over the years, because I'm just a special little muppet. But look, we are hoping that this is the beginning of something very big and very special for our state. With the website and the formal association with the federal government, I think it is just something that's going to be very, very special in the making, and it's taking a lot of time, a lot of hard work, and a lot of tears, I tell you what. But hopefully we will get to it very soon, and everyone can live in a world where SEQ, LTA, and the Queensland scene and association continues to rule the world of laser tag. Sorry, everyone else from out of state.
Do you guys want us to talk every month about laser taggy stuff and potentially get guests from other places? Tell us if you want. Do you want to hear more of this stuff?
Look, I do not have the voice for radio, so I'm going to leave it to you and Cougs. This is going to be my one and only appearance, hopefully.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't have the face for video or the voice for laser tag, so I'm very glad for you two to take the reins and run.
Well, I strongly disagree with that.
It helps if you get a decent web camera, mate.
Oh, mate, I've never had to do this before. I didn't even know that I had a camera on the computer. Thanks, Craig.
God. Okay.
All right.
Is there anything else?
There's nothing in the Twitch channels that we haven't covered, unless there's anything on the Facebook groups that people have asked.
Look, I have been requested something by one of the players. It's going to take me all of 30 seconds to dig up, but that's just the results from some of the other side events. And I think we might as well just announce a couple of them, if I can find them anywhere. Where's Stingray when you need him?
It's probably lurking in the chat, mate.
Yeah, it's probably around somewhere. Stingray, where's the doubles results?
Yep, there he is. He's in the chat.
Hey, Stingray, if you can beat me to it, can you get me the doubles results, please, and thank you? Oh, no, I found it. Never mind. Okie dokie. So, just quickly, with doubles, it was an event played at Launton. We had a top eight teams playing in finals. So, in 8th place, with an average score of 12,816, we had Gravy and Mopar. In 7th, we had Jipley and Grub with an average score of 17,134. In 6th, we had Bread and Goat. Hey, Bread, just letting you know, someone else carried you to finals this time. What can I say except you're welcome?
Good Lord.
On 17,217. In 5th, we had Rod and the Leg on 19,711. In 4th, we had Cans and Raven on 20,797. In 3rd, podiuming, I guess that's a word. In bronze, we had Husky and Wamfox with an average score of 20,898. In 2nd, we had the silver medal going to Potato and Stalker on 24,982. And in 1st, we had an out-of-stater. We had Wax and Spider with an average score of 25,060.
How are they not going to win that? Wax and Spider.
Look, I gave Bread and Goat a real chance in that. Like, it's at Launton. Like,
now, didn't we make Spider had to play left-handed? Opposite-handed the entire comp, and he still won it?
No, that was in league. That was in league.
Yeah,
and
right.
he didn't win,
We
so
do
it's fine.
have another couple of questions just quickly in the chat, guys, and then we will wrap this up. Is there going to be a process to fill the final committee position?
We
Yes.
are going to need to run a by-election. Unfortunately, we haven't had the chance to do it. We've been dealing with a couple of other SEQLTA matters, which we are now hoping have been finalised, including our... If you have any more questions about the North vs South selection panel and anything like that, get them out now, because we are trying to get it all into the realms of everyone and finalised in the next 24 to 48 hours. In regards to the final committee position, yes, we will be going to a by-election as soon as possible to fill the treasury position. I believe that's correct, Ben. And we will move forward with the associating from there.
And final question of the night: when will the players on the selection panel be announced?
As soon as, in terms of nationals, we will wait till we have the finalisation from the Nationals Committee, and then we will work with the site operators to announce that. In regards to North vs South, we will hope to get that to you within the next 3 to 4 days so that we can get it all sorted by the start of next week and get the new North vs South season underway. We will try and get it out as soon as possible. There'll be a lot of information coming out in the next week. Hopefully our code of conduct will be coming out to the players very soon. We don't have an ETA on the website at the minute. However, it is in the works, which is amazing. And yeah, I think that's how we're going to operate from there. Am I incorrect in any of that, Ben?
Tick, mate.
Me tick. Excellent. Well, we might wrap it up there, guys. So thank you to everyone in the chat for joining us. It's actually been good to talk to everyone again. And hopefully, all things going well COVID-wise, we will be back together again within the next couple of weeks.
One final thing. Big thanks to Cougs for jumping on.
You!
Thank you, guys.
Love you, Cougs. Thanks for coming back, mate. It's good to see your face.
Cougs.
No, it's all good.
And hear your voice, of course.
No.
Everyone talks about your voice, but I'm happy to see your face
Well,
as well.
yeah, I definitely don't have the face video, but no, it is good fun. Yes, there have been a few questions in the chat. Yes, I do want to continue to commentate. That was always my intention after Rumble. We just haven't found the correct opportunity to do that yet, but hopefully now that we've got this all up and going, we'll get the ball rolling. So awesome.
Who knows? We might see a return from retirement at some point. I mean, I've been like
my
Mike
knees.
Tyson. You might as well be like Mike Tyson. Don't you start about injuries. You've got nothing to complain about. My
whatever.
knees are the same as Buddy Master Mopar.
So, alrighty, guys. Thank you again, and hopefully we will speak to you soon. Keep an eye on the Facebook page for any upcoming information, as Tyler is creeping in the background. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for contributing.
Right,
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.